As we discuss the events that have taken place in Israel and in Gaza over this past weekend, we have to be able to do several things at once. For me, that starts with sending sincere sympathy and condolences to all of the innocent men, women, and children who were killed in the violence that took place in Israel and Palestine over the past weekend. Targeting civilians is a violation of international law. It's a violation of religious law. It is a violation of basic human decency. It must be condemned without excuse. It must be condemned without reservation. Full stop. But we cannot begin or end our analysis with what happened this past weekend. Long before Hamas ever sent a rocket, or even before Hamas was formed, Palestinians have lived under Israeli occupation. Israel control of Gaza, which continues even after the departure of Israeli citizens in 2005, has transformed Gaza into an open-air prison. The conditions in Gaza are literally unlivable and have only gotten worse in recent days. The people of Gaza have consistently lived under military siege, daily violence, and collective punishment. The broader Palestinian community has lived under oppressive military occupation, which has subjected them to dehumanizing conditions within an apartheid state. Even when the world isn't watching, especially when the world isn't watching, Palestinian villages are bombed, homes are demolished or taken, journalists are killed, protesters are executed. Under these conditions of ethnic cleansing, international law, human nature, and just basic common sense all suggest that resistance is both reasonable and necessary. Now, that said, violent resistance has never been the first step. Palestinians have always made efforts toward nonviolent solutions. Every Palestinian attempt, though, at nonviolent resistance, from peaceful protests to BDS to literature festivals, they've all been met with criminalization, violence, or public smearing campaigns. Even when Hamas hasn't recognized Israel, and that's true, other groups like the PLO and Fatah have absolutely done so. And still, Israel has refused to engage in reasonable, good faith negotiations. And more recently, they have refused to negotiate with Palestinians at all. So as we examine the recent wave of violence, we must understand that this is the context that created the awful violence that we've just seen. We must also use this context and allow it to inform our next steps. To achieve a lasting peace, we cannot give a blank check to Israelis' right-wing governments. We cannot give them license to wipe out and destroy Palestinians without a moment's notice. We cannot allow or sanction the elimination of electricity and fuel and food to the Gaza Strip, which is a violation of international law as a form of collective punishment. We cannot continue to trap Gazans in an open-air prison. We cannot undermine the conditions for fair and free elections so that Fatah and Hamas can no longer rule without a democratic mandate. We all want peace, but justice is the necessary precondition for peace, and that will only come by ending the Israeli occupation, by dismantling the apartheid state, and by creating the conditions for freedom, safety, dignity, and determination for every Muslim, every Christian, every Jew, every Israeli, every Palestinian, every single person in the region.